And so I was on the phone, like, well, at that time, like you said, there's no cell phone. And she wouldn't let me in her house to use her phone. So I had to get all these coins and go use a payphone. So I'm like on the payphone, I'm calling like all these people. And my friend that went to Howard, he talked to his mom, and she lived in New Rochelle, and she let me live with her.
Okay.
And so I lived like, I think in his sister's bedroom. His sister was grown and gone. And I lived in his sister's bedroom in his mom's house.
Wow.
In the projects in New Rochelle. So I stayed with her for a while. And then I was also kind of staying with another friend in Harlem, my friend Yeoman. And Yeoman was a writer. He was an R&B writer and writer. He wrote songs, a lot of
any songs we know.
A lot of Mary J. Like a lot of songs.
Okay,
a lot of people.
Okay,
and R&B. He was one of those like writers that's like an industry writer that he just like writes like so many songs, and he gives them a thing like to the label, and then they kind of like shop them or So that's what he was doing, and I remember he was like, "Oh, you're from Detroit? You're from Detroit? Like, I know you could sing." And in my mind, I'm thinking like, yeah, I could hold a tune. You know, I was raised in church, but in my mind, I'm thinking Aretha Franklin, Motown. Yeah. So I'm telling him like, nah, bro, I'm not a singer. He's like, well, he's like, you could sing better than a lot of these girls.
Hilarious.
I said, well, I probably could, you know.
Hilarious.
And so he let me, like, what he would do is he would write these songs, and I would help him figure out like melodies and things like that. And in Harlem at the time, there were so many nightclubs like for open mics, and we would go to the open mics, and I would practice with him. I would sing with him the songs. And so
you would do, so people know, usually like songwriters and producers have what they're called like, I guess we say, for lack of a better term, they call them like ghost tracks, meaning that, so your favorite hit song is sung by the writer and the producer beforehand, and then it ends up to Toni Braxton. Yeah. So it's a lot of these ghost tracks that you'd be surprised the talent of some of these singers and that will do these songs. And
and that's pretty much what we did.
Yeah.
And so we'd be at his apartment like doing all this music, and then we would sing, you know, I'd sing all these songs for him, and then we would go to the clubs, and he would pay me like $250 a night to sing, you know, with him, either background or whatever, and help him. And I do, you know, all the ad libs and everything. And we'd be doing all the clubs. And it was funny because people always thought I wanted to be a vocalist. And I was like, no, I'm a photographer. I'm just doing this because I need money, to you know, do this photography thing. And they were trying to push me to sing. And I was just like, man, I'm trying to. And so at this time,
it's like Piper would have been in Groove Theory.
Well, yeah. So at this time, there's no black women, you know, like doing photography. So people are looking at me, and, you know, they're like, well, you dance, you sing. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not what I do. I do photography. And people never took me seriously, right? Because I didn't look like I could do these pictures.
Yeah.
And I remember one day I was in the elevator at the building in the projects in New Rochelle, and Sadat X came in, and I said hi to him, and he remembered me from Howard.
And Sadat X, as we know from Brand Nubian, and Brand Nubian, Sadat X and Lord Jamar, they're from New Rochelle.
They're from New Rochelle.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I remember you. You know, he remembered my face from Howard because remember when we did the Can't Stop, Won't Stop, my friend April Silver, shouts out, she was with the incredible organization that put together the hip hop summit. And that was the hip hop summit. Like that's where it was created, like at Howard. And so I got my training as a, you know, freshman and a sophomore and all that under her, learning how to organize these events
and so forth and so on.
Yeah. And they created these events.
And this was like the foundation of what hip hop events like Jack the Ripper and things like that. Like it all comes from the ideas of like college students and love. And that was what was so beautiful I think of being, and I'm younger than you, of witnessing like witnessing hip hop grow up like through our lifetime. It was like, why don't we have a hip hop this? Like, and it was like, because nobody's doing it. And it's like, all right, why don't we do it? Like,
pretty much
almost everything came together. Like, I remember some of those original Source magazines back to like when they used to even show the original newsletter Source magazine. You know what I'm saying? So this is, it's all interesting. Like, just knowing that hip hop is something like you can touch the origination of it. Yeah. And now it's the most massive pop culture across the world.
Yeah. And it was interesting. He remembered me, right, from those days, my face. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, right?
Yeah, but still.
At this point, I'm in the elevator. It's like 94. Yeah. And at that time, I think I met him, it was like 90, 91, 92, you know. So he was like, oh, yeah, I remember your face and everything. And he was like, you're from this building? You live in my building? And I was like, no, I'm just living here now, this and that. He's like, well, what are you doing? And I said, I'm still doing my photography, but I'm trying to get, you know, into the industry and do this and that. He was like, well, why don't you come to my video shoot and shoot the behind the scenes from my video? I'll talk to the director. So I said, cool. Okay. So I went, and I'm trying to remember the name of the song. I do remember it wasn't like
a cowboy video.
It was like Lord Finesse. I'm trying to like, I see like I'm at the video, but I just can't remember the song. Okay. Because you know, like when you shoot a video, it's not like the music.
No, because people, you know what I'm saying? It's usually like, for anybody that's been to a music video shoot, it's not what you think. Yeah. Even the music videos you think that are music video, like you think it's like, oh man, it's gonna be like a jacuzzi and champagne and like maybe cars. Like the way the shots are put together, it's first off, it may be completely out of order. It may be organized differently. The music may not even play. The rapper may not even rap along with it, or they're just saying, hey, rap the lyrics without any music playing. Like it's different.
Yeah, and I just remember it was like dark, and it was like a warehouse or something. I just remember that part. And then, you know, I was taking all the pictures and everything, and then they ended up liking that, and then they introduced me to Miss Jones, and she had a record at the time, and then
the singer on AZ's Sugar Hill.
And so she needed photos. So I went and I did her photos. And then that's how I started meeting more people. Yeah. Plus my Howard connections and, you know, like that. And then, well, I just ended up being able
getting some opportunities.
And eventually I went into I decided I wanted to take a couple classes. Yeah. So I started going to like the School of Visual Arts, and I started taking some classes at FIT. I was trying to upgrade my skills and everything. Yeah. And I put an ad in I saw, where was it? It was like it was like one of those like you know, when you go in the school like bulletin boards. Yeah. And it was like they needed assistance. And so I started doing photography assisting. So I started to learn in the studio. Yeah. And so I started doing that. And then I decided that I really wanted to pursue fashion. And so at this time, photography. Yeah. And so this time at this time, there's something called a phone book. It was a Yellow Pages.
Hilarious.
And I went to that and I looked up. So I looked for the name of the photographers whose work I really, really liked. And I called him. His name was Stephen Klein. And I called his studio. And I guess they didn't, in hindsight, when I learned from them later, they really didn't know when I called on the phone that I was like a black chick.
They did not know you were black. I mean, the name Piper Carter.
They didn't know. They didn't know what I was. And so they were like, come in. And so when I went in, they looked like they saw a ghost. You know, Casper, you ever watch the Casper cartoon when they see him? Mm-hmm. That's the reaction they gave me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, whoa. But I just ignored that. And initially, I learned later that they brought me on as a joke because they figured like they would shock him, like it'd be funny. Yeah. But I didn't know this till later. Yeah. And so when I went in, I was an intern. So I did everything like pick up the dog poop, sweep the floor, nothing photography related at all. I did all that, but I did it like with enthusiasm and like I was excited to go there. Every single day I had a positive attitude. And the studio manager, after about like maybe 2 months or so, 2 or 3 months, was like, because there were other interns, was like, look, Steven, now mind you, I haven't met him. I've never met him. I've never seen him. I've just been in the studio doing stuff. So I don't even know what he looks like.
Yeah.
So the studio manager says, hey, Steven has seen you and he loves your work ethic and he thinks you're incredible and he wants to pay you out of his pocket. Don't tell the other interns that you're getting paid.
Yeah.
But he wants to pay you because he sees you work really hard. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, wow, I didn't even know he saw me, you know? And so he starts paying me. And then she
but wait, this is also, let's stop here and let's put a what is that? Let's
put pin.
Let's put a pin in this because like this is a classic example, especially being Black in America. Our opportunities as far as like what's fair and what's equal through the white supremacy that's so pervasive in all forms of any form of institution and opportunity, we have to sometimes just see past it and supersede it as far as I'm concerned. Like we have to like glide through it like it's the Matrix and take that opportunity. I mean, if we sulk and sit in the passive aggressive nature of those attacks, we damn near would not be anywhere. Now, when it becomes aggressive, when it becomes direct, you can address it in whatever your own way, in my opinion. But also just the way you move forward and through that, shit, it may have been a joke to them, but you made an opportunity of that.
I didn't even know it was a joke till like later.
And when you find out, who cares? Because you got your opportunity, and it's about getting these resources and getting it back to our people, and getting it back to our families and empowering it, because this whole institution itself definitely got us looking like a goddamn joke. Period.
And I mean, a couple of months go by, and then she says, "Look, he wants to actually hire you." Right. He loves the way you work and everything. And I was like walking the dog, picking up the dog poop, making coffee, sweeping the floor. I had not touched a photography, nothing.
But you were taking everything serious on some Mr. Miyagi shit. And probably everybody else was in there entitled and not working as hard. But
pretty much.
But so much of any opportunity, and this comes down to even when people work with me or you, like when a person shows a level of initiative, effort, and enthusiasm, and is pleasant to be around, that you're gonna want that energy around, and you're gonna get opportunity. It sounds very cliche, but shit.
Yeah. And what was interesting was so initially I got hired and as what's called a fifth assistant. You have like first, second, third, fourth, like that. So I was a fifth assistant, which basically meant I was doing the same exact job, except I was being paid properly. Yeah. And well, because she said, because I was waiting tables at the time and bartending and everything. And she was like, he really wants to keep you, but you can't work another job. I was like, are you crazy? This is New York City. My rent's like $2,000 a month. I can't come here for free and not make money. I have to make money. Yeah. So she was like, well, how much money do you need to live off of? Mm-hmm. I was like, well, here's my expenses. So she was like, well, we'll give you this plus that. I said, cool. So they paid me, pretty well. And then eventually I moved up and I became like a fourth and a third and a second. And what's interesting is I eventually became very like trusted, he trusted me.
You became an asset.
Completely.
You became an asset because you worked, as the kids say, you got it out the mud.
I got it out the mud. And I was traveling the world with him. We would be on the bus on tour, we went everywhere.
And the fashion shoots. I mean, you were shooting. What were you shooting?
We were shooting everything. We were shooting Vogue, Elle, Harper's Bazaar, Gucci campaigns, Fendi, Trussardi, Valentino. We were shooting Vanity Fair. We were shooting Naomi Campbell, Brad Pitt. All the top models. Kate Moss.
What's the culture of like one of those shoots? Is it one of those things like they say, like some sets, some movies, like you can't talk to the actors?
Of course not. You cannot talk to anybody. His set, everybody's different. But his culture, you can't look him in the eye. You can't talk to him. He doesn't want people to talk to him unless he trusts you. Then he trusts you, then it's cool, but it throws his energy off or whatever.